You think you know how to teach a complex skill. But if you're just throwing prompts at a learner and guessing the steps, you aren't practicing behavior analysis.
No, you're really not.
You're just guessing. So, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are taking a scalpel to chaining procedures.
Yeah, we're really getting under the hood of BACB 6th edition task list item G.12 today.
Exactly. We want to figure out exactly how elite clinicians engineer behavior. Because, we aren't just here to pass a test, right? We are here to master the actual mechanics of building complex skills from the ground up.
Right, and that is the exact mindset we need for this. We are not just defining vocabulary words in a vacuum today.
No, definitely not.
We are exploring the underlying Pearson VUE logic and, well, more importantly, how to apply it flawlessly in a clinical setting.
Because it's about building real clinicians.
Exactly. When we talk about chaining, we are quite literally talking about engineering behavior. I mean, we are taking a massive, overwhelming skill and systematically breaking it down into, sequential, manageable units that a learner can actually process.
Okay, so let's start right there at the foundation. Like when we say a complex skill, what we really mean in clinical terms is a behavior chain.
Yes,
right? So
exactly, a behavior chain.
And to teach that chain, we have to create a task analysis.
Yeah.
But I want to know what is actually happening under the hood here. Like, what is the actual mechanism that makes a chain stick together?
Well, it ultimately comes down to stimulus control.
Okay.
A behavior chain is it's a specific sequence of discrete responses. And the secret to a chain, the thing that really holds it together, is that each step serves a dual function.
A dual function. Wait, break that down for me.
Sure. So the completion of one step produces an environmental change. And that change serves as the conditioned reinforcer for the step that was just completed.
Okay, so it reinforces what you just did.
Right, but simultaneously it becomes the discriminative stimulus, or the SD, for the very next step in the sequence.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and the task analysis, or TA, is really just the clinical process of breaking that complex skill down into those teachable units.
Hold on, let me pause you right there. Because discriminative stimulus, or SD, can sound, well, incredibly intimidating to someone just getting into this.
Fair point. It can.
So in plain English, are we basically just saying the SD is the green light that triggers the next step?
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, the green light.
Like if I'm teaching someone to make a cup of coffee, the act of opening the coffee jar is the response. But now having an open jar in front of me, that actual environmental change, is the SD the green light to pick up the scoop? Is that the dual function you're talking about?
That is an excellent way to conceptualize it. The open jar reinforces the behavior of twisting the lid off.
Right, because you got it open.
Exactly. And it immediately sets the occasion. It provides the SD for the behavior of reaching for the scoop. They are inextricably linked.
Because if the jar isn't open, you literally can't scoop.
Precisely. If the jar isn't open, the behavior of scooping cannot occur. So the chain relies on that precise sequence of environmental changes.
Okay, so if the sequence has to be, that precise, that brings up an operational question for me.
Let's hear it.
Can I just guess the steps? Like, take tying shoes. I know how to tie my shoes. I mean, I do it every single morning.
Right. We all do.
So can I just sit at my desk, quickly jot down the, 5 or 6 steps I think it takes, and then just walk out to the clinic floor and start running trials with a kid?
You absolutely cannot. And that right there is where so many behavior change programs fail before they even begin.
Really? Just from guessing the steps?
Yes. The absolute clinical necessity here is validating your task analysis before you start any intervention. If you rely on your memory, your assumptions will ruin your data.
Because I'm going to forget something.
Inevitably. You will skip microsteps, like grasping the left lace with your thumb and forefinger at a specific 45-degree angle.
Right, because I don't think about doing that.
Exactly. The behavior is so fluent for you that it has become completely automatic. Your brain doesn't even register those microsteps anymore.
Wow, okay. So skipping TA validation is kind of like trying to code a complex website without checking if the previous line of code actually compiled.
That's a perfect analogy.
Like if you just assume step 3 works and guess the code for step 4, then steps 5 through 10 are just going to return an error message, right?
Yeah,
the behavior is just going to crash.
Exactly. You introduce artifacts into your data and you inadvertently teach a broken sequence.
Which is a huge waste of time.
A massive waste of clinical hours. So to avoid this, there are 3 valid, empirically sound ways to construct and validate a task analysis.
Okay, let's get into those. What's number 1?
Number 1, You observe a competent individual performing the sequence in real time.
Okay, so just watch someone who actually knows how to do it.
Right. Number 2, you consult with an expert or someone highly skilled in that specific task.
Makes sense. If it's a vocational skill or something, ask the manager.
Exactly. Or number 3, you perform the entire sequence of behaviors yourself, systematically recording each micro step as you do it.
Wait, literally do it myself while writing it down.
Yes, you have to force your own automatic behavior to slow down. That's how you catch the SDs you normally take for granted.
Okay, the setup makes total sense.
Yeah.
We validate the code before we run the program.
Exactly.
So let's move into the actual execution. There are distinct procedures for teaching these chains, and I want to walk through the mechanics using some, real-world clinical examples.
Let's do it.
Let's start with forward chaining. Take the case study of a kid named Christian. So Christian has a 10-step morning routine, waking up, making the bed, brushing teeth, getting dressed, and so on.
Very common scenario.
Right. And right now, he is constantly messy, disorganized, and just always late for school.
Okay, so in Christian's case, the BCBA and his mother would develop a validated 10-step task analysis for his morning routine.
Validated, of course. No guessing.
Exactly, no guessing. They might make some antecedent environmental changes first, like adding an alarm clock, setting up a specific vitamin holder, or, organizing a grooming kit.
Just to set him up for success.
Right. But the core acquisition intervention here is forward chaining. And the defining feature of forward chaining is that you prompt the learner through the very first step in the sequence.
Only the first step.
Only the first step initially. So Christian's mother prompts him to complete step 1, turning off the alarm clock. And when he completes step 1, he immediately receives a token.
Okay, and that token is a conditioned reinforcer, right? It's like a placeholder that signals a delay of reinforcement.
Yes, perfectly stated.
It tells him, like, hey, you are going to get your ultimate reward, which in Christian's case, let's say, is computer game time when you get home from school.
Precisely. In forward chaining, the chain is literally built from the front.
Hence the name.
Hence the name. So on day 1, Christian completes step 1, gets the token, and the trainer, his mother, might guide him through the rest of the steps or just end the formal training right there.
Okay, so what happens on day 2?
That's the critical part. When step 1 is mastered, the requirement increases. So tomorrow, Christian's mother requires him to independently complete step 1 and step 2 before providing the token.
Ah, I see.
The reinforcement is always delivered at the end of the currently targeted step. You systematically add steps in their naturally occurring order until the entire 10-step routine is fluent.
I see the logic there. I mean, forward chaining really builds behavioral momentum for a learner who might be, well, completely overwhelmed by a massive 10-step routine.
Exactly. It reduces the response effort initially.
You lock in the front of the chain, you guarantee a quick win, and that success just kind of snowballs.
It does. It's highly effective.
But let's look at the limitations of that. Like, what if Christian already knew how to do half the routine?
That changes things completely.
Right. Because making him stop after putting on his socks just to get a token feels like it would actually frustrate him and hold him back. So how do we adapt to a faster learner?
That is the exact clinical pivot we make when we transition to total task chaining.
Total task, okay.
Yeah. Total task chaining, which is sometimes called total task presentation, is designed for learners who do not need that intense, isolated, step-by-step breakdown.
So they can handle the whole thing.
Yes. In this procedure, the learner is trained on every single step of the task analysis during every single session.
Wow, every step, every time.
Every time. The trainer provides prompts or, physical guidance only for the specific steps the learner cannot do independently, and they systematically fade those prompts over time.
Okay, let's apply that to a couple of scenarios to make it concrete. First, we have a mother named Hannah who is teaching her 5-year-old daughter to wash her own hair.
Okay, great example.
Let's say it's a 5-step TA. Wetting hair, applying shampoo, scrubbing, rinsing, and drying. The second scenario is a group of camp counselors teaching kids how to set up a tent. In both of these cases, total task chaining is the procedure of choice, right?
It is, and we really need to look at why it is the procedure of choice.
Clinically speaking.
Right, clinically speaking. Total task chaining is indicated when the learner already knows how to complete a significant number of the steps independently, or when they have a highly developed imitative repertoire.
So they can just copy what you do.
Exactly. Or, finally, when the task itself is relatively continuous.
Okay, so let's map that onto the example.
Sure. So Hannah knows her daughter already possesses the motor skills to rub her hands together and rinse her head, right? She just needs to sequence them.
Right, she just has to put them in order.
And the camp counselors know that setting up a tent is best conceptualized as one fluid, continuous sequence for kids who just need to practice the entire loop.
That makes total sense. It's kind of like throwing them into the deep end, but with a life jacket.
I like that.
Like you walk them through the whole thing from start to finish every single time. They experience the entire process, and they get the natural reinforcement of, a clean head of hair or a fully set up tent right at the very end.
I would adjust that analogy just slightly, actually. It is a life jacket that you gradually deflate.
That's good.
You are always there to prompt the steps they miss, but you fade your assistance as they gain competence.
Got it.
But you touched on something crucial just now, getting the natural reinforcement at the end. That brings us to the third major procedure.
Right, because total task is great if they have the prerequisite skills. But let's say I'm working with a learner who just does not care about the steps. Like their motivation is entirely tied to the end result. They want the payoff right now.
Right. They lack that delayed gratification.
Exactly. Total task or forward chaining would completely lose them because the reinforcement is just too delayed.
That is exactly the profile of a learner who requires backward chaining.
Okay, backward chaining. Let's break that down.
Let's look at the case of a client named Sam. Sam is learning how to independently make frozen meals.
Huh.
The BCBA creates a 12-step task analysis. Step 1 is removing the meal from the freezer. Step 12, the final step, is bringing the fully prepared meal to the dining table.
And the critical variable here is that Sam's BCBA knows from prior interventions that Sam requires immediate natural reinforcement to maintain his motivation.
Yes, so that's the key.
Like he won't work for a token, and he definitely won't wait 20 minutes to eat.
Exactly. So backward chaining is implemented. The trainer, let's call him Timothy, completes steps 1 through 11 himself.
Wait, the trainer does almost the whole thing.
Yes. Timothy does all the heavy lifting. He gets the meal out, he opens the plastic film, he microwaves it, he stirs it, he lets it cool.
Okay.
Then he prompts Sam to complete step 12, which is simply carrying the plate from the counter to the table.
And then what?
As soon as Sam completes that single final step, he immediately accesses the terminal natural reinforcer. He gets to sit down and eat the meal.
Oh, wow. Backward chaining is literally like letting a kid place the final piece of a 1,000-piece puzzle and letting them feel like an absolute genius.
That is a perfect mechanical analogy.
They get the immediate payoff of seeing the finished picture without having to sort the 999 pieces beforehand.
Exactly. Sam doesn't have to wait through 11 grueling steps of skill acquisition before he accesses his reinforcer.
He gets it right away.
Right. And then, once he masters step 12, the trainer will complete steps 1 through 10. Then Sam will be required to perform step 11, taking the meal out of the microwave, and step 12, carrying it to the table in sequence to get the food.
So you literally build the chain backward.
You do. One step at a time, moving backward toward the beginning.
Now, what about this advanced variation I hear about? Backward chaining with leap aheads. Because honestly, the term leap ahead sounds like we're just letting the learner skip the hard work and cut corners.
Yeah, I agree. It is a terrible name for a highly effective procedure.
Right. It sounds so lazy.
It does, but leap aheads does not mean skipping the performance of the behavior. It is strictly a time-saving measure regarding the training trials.
Okay, walk me through that.
Imagine you have a 10-step chain. You're using backward chaining. The learner masters step 10, then they master step 9.
Okay.
At this point, you probe their baseline skills and realize they actually already know how to fluently execute steps 8, 7, and 6.
Oh, okay.
So in backward chaining with leap aheads, you omit the explicit acquisition training for steps 8, 7, and 6.
Wait, clarify that. They don't have to do those steps.
Oh, no, they absolutely still have to perform them. The chain must be completed.
Okay.
The distinction is that you do not spend valuable clinical hours running isolated, prompted teaching trials on steps the learner already possesses. You leap ahead to actively training step 5.
Ah, I get it.
But in order to access the reinforcer, the learner still has to execute step 5 and then independently perform 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 in sequence. Performance is required. Redundant training is omitted.
That is a massive distinction. Right. Okay, so we have the core mechanics down. Forward chaining builds momentum. Total task is for fast learners. Backward chaining provides immediate payoff.
That's a good summary.
Let's talk about the clinical traps. If I am a new BCBA, how am I going to mess this up? Honestly, I feel like I've already deduced one of them.
Oh, yeah. Let's hear it.
If I tried to use forward chaining on a kid like Sam, I mean, that is just a recipe for disaster.
Walk me through your logic. Why would that fail?
Because Sam needs immediate reinforcement, right? If I use forward chaining, I make him do step one, taking the meal out of the freezer. And then what? I pat him on the back and put it away.
Right.
He doesn't get the food.
Yeah.
The reinforcement is totally divorced from the behavior. He's going to quit.
You've just identified one of the most common clinical traps, mismatching the procedure to the learner's reinforcement needs.
It's a fatal flaw.
It is. If a learner requires immediate access to the terminal reinforcer, using forward chaining is a profound clinical failure. You must align the procedure with the learner's motivating operations.
What's another trap? We talked about guessing the steps earlier. I assume that's a big one.
It is trap number 2, skipping TA validation. It is an ethical and clinical violation.
Because you're basically flying blind.
Completely blind. If you assume you know the sequence and implement an unvalidated TA, you will miss a critical SD.
And then the chain breaks.
The chain breaks, the learner will get stuck, and you will likely blame the learner for non-compliance when, in reality, you failed to engineer the environment correctly.
You blame the kid for your bad code.
Precisely.
And trap number 3 has to be misunderstanding leap aheads, right?
Correct. Clinicians and students confuse this constantly. They think a leap ahead means the learner gets a free pass on performing a step.
Which we just established they don't.
Exactly. If you are teaching a child to tie their shoes and you leap ahead over the step of pulling the laces tight, the shoe falls off.
The chain is broken.
The terminal reinforcer is never accessed. You only omit the teaching, never the performance.
All right, let's synthesize this for the exam. Why does Pearson VUE care so much about these specific procedural distinctions? Give me the rapid-fire heuristics. Like if I'm sitting in that testing center, what am I looking for?
Pearson VUE tests this logic because assumptions in chaining lead to ineffective and sometimes unethical treatment. So here are the heuristics you need to lock in.
Let's go.
First, if a scenario describes a learner who learns quickly, knows many steps already, or has a strong imitative repertoire, your immediate choice is total task chaining.
Because they don't need isolated trials.
Exactly. The exam is signaling that the learner does not require exhaustive, isolated trials.
Okay, what's next?
Second, if the prompt emphasizes that the learner responds best to immediate natural reinforcement, you choose backward chaining.
Like our guy Sam.
Like Sam. The exam is testing your understanding that the natural reinforcer is functionally located at the terminal step of the chain.
Got it. And the third one?
Third, if a question asks what you must do before an intervention begins, and one of the options is have a competent individual perform the sequence of behaviors, you select that.
Validation of a task analysis.
Yes, that is validation of a task analysis. The exam heavily penalizes BCBAs who assume competence without empirical proof.
That is incredibly clear.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you see immediate natural reinforcement, click backward chaining. If you see learns quickly, click total task.
You've got it.
Now, I want to level up a bit. We've spent this whole time talking about initial skill acquisition like how to build a chain from scratch.
Right.
But what happens when a chain that was perfectly fine suddenly goes rogue?
This is where we transition from basic ABA to advanced clinical diagnostics.
The really fun stuff.
Absolutely. Elite BCBAs don't just teach chains, they diagnose broken ones. There is a brilliant case study regarding breaking inappropriate chains in a restaurant setting.
Yes, the restaurant scenario. Okay, so you have an employee with moderate ABAs who was taught a behavior chain for clearing tables at a restaurant.
That's the one.
They went through the whole training program, they mastered the task analysis, and they were doing great.
Initially, yes.
But a few weeks later, they started doing something completely inappropriate. Instead of picking up dirty plates and putting them on the cleaning cart, they started scraping the food scraps directly onto the empty dining table.
Which obviously is a huge problem.
Right. Now, a typical manager is probably thinking this employee is just being defiant or lazy, or that they suddenly just forgot their training.
But as behavior analysts, we know that behavior is never random.
Right.
And it is almost never defiance. Behavior is a function of stimulus control. So an elite clinician looks at this and asks, why did the employees scrape the food onto the table? What was the SD?
You look for the trigger.
Exactly. Let's break down the environment. The original task analysis dictated that the sight of a dirty plate on a table should serve as the SD to pick up the plate and walk it over to the cart.
Okay.
But if we look at the natural environment, what does a dirty plate with food on it usually signal.
Well, I mean, a dirty plate with food on it is usually the SD for scraping the plate.
Exactly. The SD, a dirty plate, evoked a valid response scraping.
Oh, wow.
The problem was that the response belonged much later in the chain, specifically when the employee was standing over the trash can in the kitchen.
So the behavior wasn't wrong at all.
No, the behavior itself wasn't wrong. It was under the control of the wrong SD in the sequence. The initial SD for the chain accidentally established the occasion for a response that should have happened 5 steps later.
That completely shifts how you view an error. It's not a failure of the learner at all. It's a failure of the discriminative stimulus. The green light turned on at the wrong intersection.
That's exactly right.
So to fix it, you don't punish the employee for scraping. You don't write them up. You have to go back and reprogram the stimulus control.
Yes. You have to clearly differentiate the SD of a dirty plate on a dining table from the SD of a dirty plate over a kitchen trash can.
That is the exact diagnostic mindset of a top 1% BCBA. You diagnose broken chains by interrogating the environment, not by blaming the learner.
Precisely. To fix this, you might introduce a new salient SD like a brightly colored bin, specifically on the cart, to clearly signal the response of place plate here, rather than allowing the plate itself to trigger the scrape response.
Well, you basically change the green light.
You analyze the workplace, identify irrelevant or competing SDs, and you retrain the specific step where the stimulus control fractured.
That is such a powerful lens for looking at the world. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to challenge you, the listener, to apply that exact diagnostic lens to your own daily behavior chains.
I love that idea.
Look at your own morning routine or, your study habits for the BACB exam. Are you engaging in inefficient, time-wasting behavior chains simply because the SDs in your environment are misaligned?
It happens to all of us.
Are you blaming yourself for being lazy, when really your phone sitting on your desk is just the wrong SD, triggering the wrong response during your study chain? How could you empirically task, analyze, and rechain your own environment for maximum clinical efficiency? If this helped you, follow behavioral intelligence, share this episode with another RBT or BCBA who's studying, and leave a comment or review. That's how we grow, and how I keep creating high-level content for you.
At Amethyst Therapy Services, Inc., we build clinicians, not just test passers. It's www.amethysttherapyservices.com. E-info at amethysttherapyservices.com.